Hello everyone, I'm your friendly neighborhood astrologer Matthew Curry, and oh my, isn't it good to be back in the podcast saddle. I'm back now for a number of reasons, but I think maybe the most important one is that I think this podcast and things like it are needed again. We are approaching some very challenging times in the course of human history in the next 3 years, I believe, but you know what? I'm not here to spread any gloom or doom. I want to let you know that you and me, we're going to get through this thing together, and astrology is going to help us, alright? So, this week is going to be kind of simple, just a brief look at the week ahead, and a segment on the birth chart of Martin Shkreli. Boo, no one really likes Martin Shkreli, do they? In future, I'll be back with all the regular features that you came to know before from Conquer the Universe, the interviews, the commentary, and of course the shtick, because nothing's complete without a little shtick, is it? This week, though, we're keeping it fairly simple, so let's get on with it, shall we? This week's two dominant aspects are, to be honest with you, a little bit ouchy. First of all, Venus square Saturn, which is exact early in the week, but covers the entire week, it's a difficult and really challenging time when it comes to maintaining your love life, your affections, sticking to a diet, making money, that sort of thing. All those lovely, pleasant Venus-type things that we like to roll in and occasionally try to poison ourselves with. Venus square Saturn, though, may not in fact be as bad as you might think, just because it's a sentence about astrology with square and Saturn in it. Funny how that sets people off sometimes, doesn't it? But, you know, I'll be the first to admit that it is challenging. Now, here's the thing, though. Keep in mind, this aspect happens twice a year. You've been through plenty of them before. The main thing is to be cautious of overspending, try not to trade the family cow for any magic beans, and be particularly careful with your loved ones, because there is a chance to cause a little more injury than usual. And speaking of injury, here comes Mars in Sagittarius square Chiron in Pisces, which kicks in later in the week, but because Mars is slower than Venus, covers the whole week even more so than Venus square Saturn. Now a word about Chiron, and I've admitted this both publicly and privately before, is that there is something about Chiron that rubs me the wrong way. It's incredibly important. The longer I work as an astrologer, the more I see the power of Chiron. But for a long time, I was in Chiron denial. You see, in some ways, I would like to think that in an ideal world, an astrologer can just look at your life, your birth chart, and your transits, and treat it a little like you're a mechanic, you know? Look at, say, the transits you're having and say, oh, well, your job started stinking about 3 months ago, it's got about another 2 months to go, but then this transit over here means that in the summer you should be able to find a new job if you're looking for one. Problem solved. Thank you, goodbye. The whole problem with that approach is that life is not that mechanistic. It would certainly be more convenient if it was. It would be a lot less messy, but there is no question that everything we do is colored by our emotional state and what we've experienced in the past. And that's what Chiron is all about. Chiron is the big repository of all the psychologically ouchy and hurtful things that came at you as a child and your adolescence, even now. Chiron is, for those of you who know your astrological lore, named after Chiron the Centaur, who is commonly known as the Wounded Healer. And how would you feel about your life if people thought of you as the Wounded Healer? That would be kind of weird, you know, instead of being like Dave the Accountant or Edna the Lawyer or whatever, if they thought of you as the Wounded Healer. Admittedly, being a healer is an important thing, but honest to God, do you want to get stuck at a cocktail party or something in a corner with someone who's got wounded in their job title? It's not comfortable. Nonetheless, though, these are things that we have to face, and Mars square Chiron this week comes with a real curse and a real gift, and I think if we focus on the gift, we can more than overcome the curse. Before we get into how to pull off that particular magic trick first, though, let me tell you a bit of a Chiron-like story about myself. As you may have noticed, if you listened to the show before, I've been away for a few years, and I'm still an astrologer, and I'm still working in it. But the last 5 or 6 years have provided me, without going into too much detail, lots of opportunities to learn about getting wounded by things. And I overcame it. Now, I know my story may not be as terrible as yours. It may be better, it may be worse, it doesn't matter. My pain is my pain, yours is yours. And, with a little love and care and attention, both to ourselves, and from others, we're going to get through this. Now, caring about someone, showing kindness and mercy, to be honest with you, that can take a lot of balls sometime. Now, Mars knows all about balls, alright? Mars is not a wallflower. Mars charges in, Mars does things, Mars wants to get to the goal. And Mars square Chiron, on the one hand, in this next week or so, it gives us an unfortunate opportunity to open up some old wounds and cause some new ones. But, lucky you, here's the good news. We are bigger than any one of our planets. We can choose to apply ourselves consciously to how we treat ourselves and how we treat others, and we can make our world and the world of other people and everyone in general a much better place. And here, if you know a bit about astrology, maybe you thought I was going to say, oh, everyone's going to cause PTSD and everyone else this week because Mars square Chiron. No. What I'm saying is, this week, you may be revisited by a few old demons. You might even make the acquaintance of a few new ones. But we have a chance to get through it and get over it. And I've always heard that the notion that once a bone is broken and it heals again, it's stronger because of the break. I'm not sure if that's literally true, but emotionally, it is definitely true. So, whatever particular demons may be visiting you this week, greet them, acknowledge them, talk to them, and then send them the hell away. Alright? Now, coming up in a couple of minutes, I'm going to be having a look at the chart of the week and how it shows us how astrology works and what astrology really does. But first, a word from our sponsor. Hi, I'm astrologer Matthew Curry. When I say I'm an astrologer, most people don't really know what the job entails and what I can do for you. Let me tell you a little about it. I'm a counselor. Much like a regular counselor, you'd see if there was a problem with your love life or your finances or your health or your family. And in many ways, it's exactly that straightforward.
Cymbalta can help. Cymbalta is a prescription medication that treats many symptoms of depression.
Actually, that's one of the great things as far as I'm concerned about astrology, is that although it's a very ancient science, it's very up to date and with relatively few side effects.
Antidepressants can increase these in children, teens, and young adults. Cymbalta is not approved for children under 18.
Well, regardless of your age, living in the modern world can be difficult. And believe it or not, talking to an astrologer can actually help sort things out in a better and more practical way than, honestly, anything else I can think of.
People taking MAOIs or thyroidazine or with uncontrolled glaucoma should not take Cymbalta. Taking it with NSAID pain relievers, aspirin, or blood thinners may increase bleeding risk.
But really, more than anything else, the great thing about astrology is that it's not really about stars and about planets. It's about you and your life and the people you interact with and the things that make you happy. And that, more than anything else, is the real gift that astrology...
Severe liver problems, some fatal, were reported. Signs include abdominal pain and yellowing of the skin or eyes.
Okay, look, straight up. Astrology. It works, it's non-prescription, it's a way for you to take charge of your life. Now, are there any questions?
Talk with your doctor about your medicines, including those for migraine, or if you have high fever, confusion, and stiff muscles, to address a possible life-threatening condition.
So send me an email. The address is astrologyshow@gmail.com, and I'll send you more information and, hey, maybe some free stuff.
Dizziness or fainting may occur upon standing.
So send me an email and I'll tell you more. No obligation and no side effects.
Side effects include nausea, dry mouth, and constipation.
Oh, just send me that email. I'll send you some information. Just take my word for it. It'll be good.
To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours.
Not that good. So there you have it. Send me an email. The address is astrologyshow@gmail.com. And I will send you information on readings and a free copy of my ebook, 12 Signs of Love. That's right, you heard me, it's free. People like free stuff. So send me an email, astrologyshow@gmail.com. Now let's have a look at this week's celebrity guest chart, Martin Shkreli, aka the Pharma Bro. Now, for those of you who have heard the name, but really don't know any of the details, here's a bit of the background. Martin Shkreli was born March 17th, 1983, time unknown, Brooklyn, New York. Now, even without the time of birth, we can tell a lot of things by looking at his chart. We can see that he has a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and that it's in a fairly close opposition to his Venus, and depending on the time of birth, probably his moon as well. Now, a simple analysis of that sort of thing could raise you to come with the conclusion that he has a real powerful appetite for something or other in his life, and is willing to go to significant lengths to fulfill that. And we always have to be careful when we're looking at a birth chart, not to judge it too much based on what we already know about the person. You can look at the birth chart of, say, Charles Manson and spot that he has, and I think it's fair to say, or had rather, so long Charlie, that he had great leadership potential. Or you can look at the birth chart of Ted Bundy and you could say, wow, he's a real charmer. And in both cases, you'd be absolutely right. But at least in hindsight, it's pretty obvious to see where Martin Shkreli's appetites lay and what he was willing to do about that. You see, here's the situation. It was in May of 2014 when Martin was having his Uranus trine, and Uranus trine is often a time when a person undertakes some bold new direction or venture in life. And in his case, what he and his company did was buy up the rights to an AIDS drug called Retrofin. Retrofin was and still is at the time a drug that is very vital to help maintain the health of people with the HIV virus. And hey, you know, what he did was perfectly legal. All's fair in love and capitalism, right? So what his company did is jack up the price a little. Now, let me show you how much they jacked it up. When you're on Retrofin, you normally have to take somewhere around 10 to 15 pills a day. Now, before Shkreli bought the rights to this drug, the average price for the pill was about $1.50 each. And his company, again, playing by the rules, jacked that price up to $30 a pill. I want you to think about that for a second. Your life and your health depends on 10 to 15 pills a day, and they go up from $1.50 each to $30 each. That's a pretty bold Uranus trine move, isn't it? Yeah, not responsible. Not a good person. But here's the thing. Once again, we shouldn't judge a person's birth chart based on what we already know about their character. It's too easy to look at the birth chart of someone you love and or hate and find something in there to judge that love and or hatred, or to base that love or hatred on. But that's the birth chart. Like in poker, a birth chart is probably neither good nor bad. It's a lot more important to pay attention to how you play the hand you're dealt. What we can maybe be a little more objective about under the circumstances is the effects of the upcoming transits and what circumstances they will bring into your life based on how you've lived your life. And quite unconnected to this whole story with the AIDS drug, in December 2015, with transiting Neptune square his Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the delusions kind of caught up with him, got charged with security fraud, and guess what happened last week? With transiting Neptune completing that square to his natal Uranus, he's going to jail for 7 years for fraud. Isn't it nice when a little justice gets served up? Anyway, that's the show for this week. I'll be back next week, and I'll be having a special guest. I'm looking forward to that. And in future, there will be more current events, current astrology, guests. In future, maybe even a chat room. Why not? I enjoyed doing that before. And as always, if you're looking for a consultation or you want a free copy of my ebook, 12 Signs of Love, send me an email. The address is astrologyshow@gmail.com. And remember, everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter what your sign is, good night, Susan. I love you.